September 9th, 2025, New York Times, Business and Economy. China's exports to Africa are soaring as trade to U.S. plunge. China has ranked up a 60 billion trade surplus with Africa so far in 2025, nearly surpassed last year's total, as Chinese companies redirect trade to the region with President Trump's tariff grips the flow of goods into the United States. Through August, China exported 141 billion worth of the goods and services to Africa, while importing 81 billion, according to data released by the Chinese government on Monday. The widening trade imbalance with Africa stems from surging exports of Chinese-made batteries, solar panels, electrical vehicles, and industrial equipment. The swell in exports to Africa, along with record volume of goods sold to Southeast Asian and Latin American, underscores a resilience of Chinese manufacturers in finding new markets for the products their factories continue to churn out in enormous quantities. China has long been the biggest trading partner for the region, but the flow of Chinese-made goods have never been more important as the trade war with the United States reigns on and the growth of China's domestic economic slows. In August, China's exports to the United States jumped 33%, while those to Africa grew 26%. The boom in the trade to Africa is apparent on the street of Kampala, Uganda's capital city. In a bustling neighborhood full of electric shops, most of the solar panels crowding the interior of nearly every storefront had one thing in common: they were made in China. One shop owner, Mui Hopsei, said Chinese solar panels had edged out rival versions from Europe and India over the last decade. He estimated that nearly 99% of the solar brands on offer were made in China. At the end of the day, the price from China could not be beaten on price. I only look for cheap solar to sell if I am to compete with others in the market, said Mr. Mooney, 38. This is what the Chinese are giving us. It was not just the solar panels, nearly everything in the small and crowded electronic shops, from light bulbs to generators, was also made in China. For more than a decade, China has invested heavily in building infrastructure throughout the continent as part of the Belt and Road Initiative. The project has deepened Beijing's influence across Africa, creating business opportunities for Chinese companies and providing access to valuable raw materials. This year, the Trump administration has gutted Plunges aid to Africa, launching a host of health and development initiatives in limbo. It also targeted many African countries with tariffs, including a 30% duty on goods from South Africa. Mr. Trump initiated rolled a 50% tariff on imports from Leicester, forcing the textile-dependent country to declare a national state of disaster. The rate was reduced to 50%, which is still expected to hurt Lesotho. It was around nearly 2 dozen African countries that have sent certain products to the United States without any import tax under a law passed by Congress in 2000. As the United States pulls back from Africa, China is presenting itself as an economic counterbalance. In June, Beijing said it would waive nearly all tariffs for 53 African countries. China was sending a message it was committed to nurturing a fruitful, mutually beneficial relationship with Africa. Xinhua, China's main state-run news agency, claimed in an editorial in January that China has created more than 1 million jobs in Africa in the last 3 years, while helping the region build roads, railways, bridges, and parks over the previous quarter century. When Beijing portrays as a marriage of convenience is most apparent in the solar energy sector. Although China dominates all aspects of industry, Chinese solar companies are struggling to survive, plagued by cutthroat competition and overproduction that has driven down price and eroded profitability. However, plummeted prices have spurred a solar energy boom in Africa, where there is a desperate need for energy. As a result, solar taking off in Africa, according to Amber, an energy tracking group. Solar panel imports from China rose 60% in the last 12 months, and 20 African countries imported a record amount over the period. Amber said, in Uganda, many Chinese solar manufacturers have established distribution offices in Kampala, allowing retailers to obtain products quickly and avoid the hassle of importing them from China. Walter Cooker, managing director of W Water Works, a water and solar energy installation company, said China solar companies were prevalent in Uganda and were setting up branches across the continent. He said more than 8 Chinese companies had distribution centers in the city. He said the companies were competing aggressively with one another, driving down price. He estimated that solar panel price had fallen 40% over the last 12 months. Mr. Cooker said European competitors were not invested in the sector in Africa like the Chinese firms. They will discover when it is too late that the Chinese have already taken over, he said. It is not just clean energy. The surge in Chinese exports to meet African industrials' needs is staggering. In the first 5 months of the year, steel shipments to Africa rose nearly 30%. Deliveries for Chinese agriculture, construction, and shipbuilding machinery all rose more than 40%. In addition, electrical motor and generator exports rose more than 50%, according to China's most recent custom data. For consumer products, the grants are equally eye-opening. Chinese exports automobiles rose 67% in the first 5 months of 2025, including a doubling of shipments in May alone. China already dominated other key sectors. 4 of Africa's 5 biggest smartphone brands are Chinese, with Huawei and Xiaomi telling the biggest market share gains this year. For years, Africa leaders have expressed concerns about what they perceive as a lopsided relationship with China, with Beijing with China divulging Africa's natural resources while flooding the market with its manufactured goods. The deluge of China's exports puts African countries in a hard spot, threatening to undermine their efforts to develop high-value industry of their own. Yet policymakers fear they must stay in China's favor, says David Omajamoner, Africa Economy for Capital Economics. China is really the only game in town, he said. Thanks for listening. Have a good day. Enjoy your life.